You too. I know some of y'all probably mad. I'm like, yo, where you been at, bro? You've been missing for a couple of weeks. I know. I've been trying to tell y'all. May is my hell month. Like it's absolutely crazy. In a good way, though. In a good way. My daughter, her birthday was on the 7th. My other daughter, her birthday was on the 24th. We just celebrated my grandmother's 90th birthday on the 27th. So, we had a big celebration for that. So I know I've been away. I know the content has not been consistent, but we back. We back. Mose didn't go nowhere. I'm right here. We back with the content. And we're kicking it off. We may be a little bit late, but that's okay because we still gonna talk about. We got a lot of time until the season gets around, so we can still talk about the draft. We can still go over team drafts, what they did, give us an outlook, and I'm trying to find as many people as I can to hop on and talk about some of these teams. And today, I have a special guest with me. He's been here before, but he's back again. Last time he was here, we was on with another good friend of ours. Now it's just me and him one-on-one. We get to talk about his team in depth. I've known this guy going way back to college. Very, very good friend of mine. And he happens to be a New York Giants fan. And that's what we're on today. We're going to cover the New York Giants draft. We're going to take a look at how they did. I'm going to let Josh give his grade. I'll give my grade. And we'll go over like that. So we just know, without further ado, I'm going to bring him in. My homie, family member, Josh Rodriguez. Josh, what's going on with you, bro?
What's good, man? Thanks for having me on. My first football podcast I'm doing for the year. I'm in my basketball mode, but always good to talk football. So,
absolutely, man. I'm glad you mentioned that because we have a lot of fans, a lot of people that tune into Mose Knows who are also basketball fans. Shout out to my brother Wayne Breezy over at Nitty Gritty Niners. Congratulations to him and his Boston Celtics for making it to the NBA Finals. There are a lot of people who are. There are a lot of people who watch my channel who are Golden State Warrior fans. So shout out to, much respect for them, for their team to making it. Josh is an amazing, amazing content creator as it comes to the realm of basketball. A solid basketball player too. Listen, one of the best point guards that I've ever played with, and I'm very, very serious about that. Is his court vision, his ability to facilitate. He's one of the most unselfish basketball players I've ever. But you go out on the court and you playing basketball, everybody want to be a hero. Everybody want to be Kobe. I remember, we would have to yell at Josh, shoot the ball, yo. Shoot the ball. Stop looking at pass.
That's the
you
funny
wide
part.
open.
I can shoot the ball too. It's not like I couldn't.
No, we know you can. That's why we were yelling at you to shoot it. We know you can shoot. You just was like, I'm gonna give it up. Let me pass this. He was trying to get more assists than he was points. But Josh, give the people just a little bit of insight into your content creation, your platform, and what you got going on with the NBA.
Yeah,
and where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, you can find me on all social media platforms at Josh_Rodriguez there. So y'all can see. My podcast is called The Dime, which was picked up by Ball is Life, which is a huge content creator in the basketball sphere. Drop episodes every Thursday. It's a weekly podcast. Next year, I'll probably try to do it a little depending on my job situation. But I'm also a cast producer for LeBron James' Uninterrupted. I produce a show called Certified. And for all of you football fans, I produced a podcast called 17 Weeks. We had 2 seasons, the latest season being Anders, Eric Ebron, Jamal Adams, and it's hosted by Nate Burleson. So, yeah, content that I either make or produce in both the basketball and football realms.
So, yeah, everybody who's watching this, go ahead, give Josh a follow if you want up-to-the-minute basketball content, if you want good insight into the NBA. And again, the NBA season's not over. We have at least 4 more games of good basketball with the NBA Finals coming up. So you want to tap in with Josh to get all of your NBA content. Josh, let's jump right in, man. You're New York Giants.
Yeah.
I think, I've seen you say it. I've seen other people say it. And when they've talked about it, is this the first year that the Giants didn't screw this up?
I think it is. I think it is, man.
Is this really the first year that the Giants didn't screw this up?
Well, I mean, first year since Gettleman. Yeah, for sure. I think I don't want to be the dead horse. He's gone. I think that has a lot to do with, I think, a team taking over, making better decisions. Is you can just right away, just with this draft, that they're heading in the right direction. I'm really happy with, especially the first round. Really happy.
So now, how we want to go over it is, you are a guest on the show again. You're a family, but you're a guest. We can go at your. Do you want to go top down or you want to go bottom up? Do you want to start at the end and finish with the first round, or do you want to start with the first round and go through
Yeah,
like
let's go
a
first
normal
round.
draft? Okay,
Let's go
so let's
first
start
round.
with the first round. We got 2 picks in the first round. Number 5,
Yeah.
number 7. We'll start with number 5. Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive end out of Oregon. What was your reaction when his name was called at the number 5 overall pick?
I mean, I was really happy, as a Justin win 2 Super Bowls because of the defensive line and the pressure they're able to put on quarterbacks. Giants fan, that's what I'm used to. That's what I win 2 Super Bowls, and that's what fans we like to see from our teams. Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence there. We have Thibodeau. Defense is really young. They're very raw. I think they still think they need to be developed. See how this new coaching regime puts it together. To me, if you can get pressure on the quarterback, this is just basic football. It takes pressure off, the back end in this area, and that secondary is pretty young. A little unproven, although I think they have potential. I love this pin.
Yeah, man. When I saw this pick for the New York Giants, I said, okay, now we're getting, back to what the staple of this team was, as you mentioned. When you look at names like Michael Strahan and Osi Umenyiora and Justin Tuck, and even going back to LT Lawrence Taylor, this has been a primary position for this team, being able to get after the quarterback. And I think with Kayvon Thibodeau falling to them at number 5, for me, it was a no-brainer selection at that
Yeah,
point. In the division that they're in, which somewhat seems a little bit wide open. Okay, so yes,
it
the
is, bro.
Dallas Cowboys.
It is. I'm sorry.
Okay, but okay,
It's
let me stop
wide
your mind. A
open.
division that's wide open. We
Yeah,
expect the Dallas Cowboys to be good, but they've had some
yeah.
change and some internal turmoil. Who knows if Mike McCarthy is the long-term option there at the head coach position. The Philadelphia Eagles, there's still question marks surrounding Jalen Hurts. A lot of people don't want to give him his flowers for some reason, but apparently people want to give Carson Wentz his flowers, and they have the Washington Commanders winning between 10 and 12 games and winning that division. I don't know if they saw what Carson Wentz did in Indianapolis and why Frank Reich, a person who coached him up to almost MVP caliber level, was able to let go of him after one season, why he all of a sudden makes the Commanders a playoff contender. But again, I believe that that division is wide open, and you have to have somebody who can get after the quarterback. I think each one of those other teams in that division have somebody who can do that and do that very well. So I think the Giants adding Thibodeau was spot on. Now, the only thing I do worry about is I know Thibodeau is a traditional hand in the dirt type of edge rusher, right? He can
Yeah.
stand up. I think he does have the athleticism to do that. But it looks like the Giants may still be in a 3-4. Do you have any concerns with him going from a 3-point stance in a traditional 4-3 defense to a 2-point stance, standing up on the outside of a 3-4?
Yeah, I actually do. I do think that makes a difference. From everything that I've seen of him, I'm not going to sit here in front of and say that in Oregon every single game I know enough film to think that he'll be okay. It does concern me. I do think you have a rhythm, you have ways that you get to the quarterback, and if you're switching that up, you're not doing what got you to the league. And I think he's a good enough athlete. He's talented enough where he'll be okay.
Yeah, as long as the Giants have the coaching staff that can kind of teach him up and train him to, rush from that, 2-point stand outside linebacker position, I think he'll be okay. I think he does have
Yeah.
the athleticism, but you mentioned it perfectly that rhythm that you have as a pass rusher, when you're in that 3-point stance or that 4-point stance, when you have your hand in the dirt, you're kind of already at a lower center of gravity anyway. And you've kind of conditioned yourself to come off the ball and stay low. Whereas if you're in that 2-point stance, sometimes you may come off pretty high, especially for a guy who's 6'5", almost 6'6". maybe he can come off the line pretty high if he doesn't get that technique down. So I'm interested to see how they coach him up from a technique standpoint. But physically, I think he's more than capable to do that. So that was a great pick at number 5. And then we moved to number 7, and this is where I was worried. This is where I was like, okay, will the Giants do giant things? They got Thibodeau. Do they
Right.
do they say, okay, we got the guy we wanted. This pick is a luxury for us. Let's reach for something that maybe we shouldn't take. And they didn't reach. We've talked about it here. We talked about it last year after the draft when it was me, you, and Kizzo, and we were talking about the Jets and Giants. We were talking about what is the emphasis on the offensive line. And they get probably what some people would say would be the best offensive tackle in this class.
Yeah.
In Evan Neal from Alabama. Let me know your thoughts about this pick and your reaction when his name came across the screen.
No, I loved it. I mean, everything I feel going into the draft was that he was the best offensive line prospect in the draft. We even had him in number 1 on the boards. I don't know if you remember that. Like but some people did have Evan Neal going number 1 on the boards. And problem with this Giants offense to me is the line. You can talk about Daniel Jones, and we have a conversation. He has a new coach. I think Joe Judge held him back a little. I'm not sold on Daniel Jones, but I still think that he hasn't had a proper line. He hasn't coach. And for me, a Giants fan, I want to eliminate all excuses for Daniel Jones this year. We got the coach. Let's shore up the line. And I position of need. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have been mad if they went with Neal at 5. He was kind of like when they picked Thibodeau, I was kind of hoping for. I wasn't upset about that, but I was really happy that Neal fell to 7. They got offensive line. I know they, signed a couple free agents over the offer it up, and it's going to be a work in progress. It's a whole line, but it's definite. And we missed out on Quentin Nelson a couple years ago. Listen, I know on, but Quentin Nelson can anchor your line for the next 10, 15 years, and where football's won, man, in the trenches on the offensive line and defensive line. So I hope he lives up to expectations.
Me too. Right now they have him listed as right tackle. Do you think throughout camp that flip flops? Do you think they move him to left and move Andrew Thomas to right?
Well,
because Andrew Thomas did struggle a little bit at left tackle.
He did, but he did. I think he had a year. I think he was okay. Wouldn't surprise me if they put Evan aside, protect his blind side, see how he. I think they drafted him to be right tackle. But we'll see. We'll see.
And I mean, if Thomas can continue to improve, and then you have Evan Neal on the right side,
you
might have bookend tackles for the next 10, 12 years. So again, the philosophy that the Giants went into this draft with, absolutely amazing, and it paid off. The trade that they made last year, they saw that Chicago was a little bit desperate. They wanted to move up and get a quarterback. They made that move, and now that turned into pick number 7, and they were able to get Evan Neal. So you said it. In this game of football, it's one up front in the trenches, and with their 2 top 10 picks, they attack both sides of that ball in the trenches with Thibodeau and Neal. Let's move to the second round. Wide receiver. Now, this one, I was scratching my head a little bit, but then I was like, well, the Giants have a whole host of receivers that haven't really stepped up and produced. So let's talk about Wan'Dale Robinson, and where do you think he fits within this Giants wide receivers core?
It's interesting because I like the Giants wide receiver core before Wan'Dale was, to me, this kind of shows, in my mind, maybe a concern for staying healthy. Shepard to me is a solid receiver when he's healthy. Kadarius Toney, even though he was hurt last year and everything that went with him last year, I mean, he showed that he's a maker. I have no doubts in my mind that he's going to be a fantastic wide receiver if he stays healthy. Kenny Golladay had a down year. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Daniel Jones was hurt. The Judge. To me, this is not really a lead to me, which is kind of it raised red flags to me. Think of Sterling Shepard. Darius Slayton to me is a receiver who I think is nice and you there, but I wouldn't mind him as our 4th wide receiver. So to me, this is kind of addressing the fact that I don't think they think he's going to stay healthy, and I don't think they really want to keep him long term. I think this is to replace Sterling.
Yeah, I mean, the injury bug at this Giants wide receiver core, I mean, I feel like that has been the black cloud over this team is
Yeah.
not being able to get receivers and keep them healthy. So when you're having those issues, it seems like you almost always have to replenish that group. So yeah, I mean, on paper, really, really solid group. I'm looking five deep. Colin
Mhm.
Johnson, David Sills, Robert Foster, even Richie James. Those are some guys that they're probably battling for spots 5 and 6, depending on if Giants keep 7 wide receivers, which they might with the injury issues that they've had. But I think if Kadarius Tony can stay healthy, even if Sterling Shepard doesn't, I feel like Tony and Wan'Dale Robinson, what they're able to do after the catch, I think is going to be paramount in this system. And I think it's going to open up a lot for Daniel Jones. I think uh, it'll open up a lot for Saquon Barkley in the running game as well when you have
Yeah.
two dynamic playmakers when the ball is in their hands. So we know we have Kenny Galladay as our number one red zone target. If we need a big third down, we need a big body over the middle. We have Kenny. But to kind of stretch the defense out, to make them play honest, to kind of throw them off with check downs and screens and maybe a few jet sweeps, things of that nature. We have two dynamic playmakers in Tony and Wan'Dale Robinson. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. I just want to see the guys healthy. And I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing is can these guys stay healthy long enough for them to gain some momentum, gain some rhythm, gain some chemistry,
Yeah.
figure out how each of them fit in a role in that wide receiver core and how Daniel Jones can use each of them at his disposal. When they're in and out of the lineup and 2 and 3 and 4 guys are injured, there's no way your quarterback or your offense and your play caller can get a rhythm. So if these guys can stay healthy, I want to see how explosive they can be. So that would be my hope as even as a non Giants fan, that would be my hope.
Yeah. I mean,
Moving into the
I think
go
the
ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry. I just wanted to add to that. I think the offense he's trying to bring to the team is spread them out, speed kill. We're going to see a lot of run designs for Daniel Jones. I think what you said, a lot of jet sweeps and a lot of wide receiver screens, maybe for Robinson and for Tony. I think a lot of things are not going to be down, just kind of stretch him out and use speed to kill. So I do like it from that standpoint. And even healthy, I still think he'll get some playing time.
Yeah, definitely. Moving into the third round, we got 2 picks in the third round. Again, right back to that well, shoring up
Yep.
that offensive line. We take guard Joshua Izudu from North Carolina. Give me your thoughts on this pick.
Yeah, everything I've read about him, he's decent. I think just addressing the line, the left side of the line is fine. And to me, I think Josh would probably be a backup just in case there's some. But I don't mind it at all. Like I said, we're having a new line this year. I don't know if I you know, the offensive line, a lot of it is about chemistry. Hard injuries happen, so just addressing depth there. I'm not mad at the pick at all.
Yeah, for my 49ers, Joshua Izudu was one of those day 2, day 3 picks that I was looking at for us, just
Mhm.
to again shore up that offensive line. We lose guard Laken Tomlinson to the Jets. We have some other issues across that offensive line, so that was a position of need that I thought was somebody that could help us. And Joshua was one of the names that I saw in those later rounds that really surprised me when I put on his tape and I was able to watch, the type of player that he is. When you look at his build, give me a second, I'm pulling it up now. 6'4", 308 pounds. Um, I know, I know from my review of things that he fits exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants in an
Yeah.
offensive lineman from a height weight standpoint. 34-inch arms, and he has the athleticism to kind of move around. He showed power. He showed athleticism to move and get to the next level. So I think while he is a solid player, a great pick in the third round, there is still some development that's there. And I hopefully Brian Daboll can come in and his coaching staff can coach this young guy up. But I think he can be a solid starter. And I think you and other Giants fans will be pleasantly surprised at what he's able to do from an interior offensive line perspective,
Okay.
um, more than what you got from a Will Hernandez.
Yeah. Well, Will this was a little disappointing. Was it- I'll take it over whatever we get from
Oh, second pick in the third round in a trade from Miami, get cornerback Cordell Flott from LSU. Now, this I thought was a good pick. Um,
me too.
he was a name that came up when I was doing some mock drafts for the 49ers. He was a name that came up, and I didn't quite have a good read on him until I was able to put on his tape. And when I put on his tape, I understood why he was getting a lot of late draft buzz. This kid, he's a dog. I mean, you can put him inside, he'll play there and
Right.
he'll play well. You can put him outside at left or right cornerback, he'll play well. I think the issue
Safety.
at LSU was he just
Mhm.
had so many guys in front of him. You saw Derek Stingley go number 3 overall to Houston. They have another kid there who's probably going to be a top 5 pick. But when those guys were down, Cordell Flott came in, and he listen. If you ask LSU, they're DB University. There's a few other schools, Florida State, Texas. There are other schools that claim that they're DB University, but LSU, they'll say we are DB University. And I saw that on tape, so I'm actually really excited for the Giants that they got this kid. Of course, some of the depth charts aren't up to date, but with the departure of James Bradbury, and
Right.
if you look at everybody else on the roster, Cordell Flott might slide in as a starting cornerback on this team. What are
No,
your
he
thoughts?
is. No, he absolutely is. Adoree Jackson moves over. And then you have and the thing I like about Cordell is also like you said, he can play safety for a couple games, played the nickel. I think he's very versatile either way. Um, you know, I do like Julian Love. Safety the Giants have, I think the young, a little inexperienced, but I do think they show some promise. This is a young secondary that I think, is gonna grow together, and I think he's gonna start from day one. I think he's gonna be great. I love this.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it earlier. What the Giants are doing on the defensive line with the pass rush, that's only going to help that young secondary, right? So we know what we're getting from Dexter Lawrence. We know what we're getting from Leonard Williams. You add in Kayvon Thibodeau. You get another year of Azeez Ojulari. He's maybe a little bit healthier, maybe closer to 100%. And if he can stay on the field and give you some pass rush from the opposite side of Kayvon Thibodeau. So if that pass rush can stay healthy, stay together, and get consistent pressure, that's only going to benefit that young secondary. So again, I'm excited for Cordell Flott. I'm excited to see what he's able to do in this secondary. I thought that was a great pick. And I'm looking up. So we're 5 picks in, 2 in the first round, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. And I'm like, yo, the Giants are cooking right now. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. We got to start. He's gonna start. Yeah, you got an offensive lineman to start, defensive end. I mean, even I think a backup offensive line, what's gonna happen. I love the draft so far for sure from a Giant fan.
absolutely. So we move into round 4. Evan Ingram, no longer with the team.
Yep.
So we might have to replenish that spot. So at pick 112, we get Daniel Bellinger out of San Diego State. And then 2 picks later, at pick 114, we get Dane Belton, safety out of Iowa. Um, Talk to me about both of these guys, what you like, what you did, what you don't like. Um,
Yeah. So Daniel, um, he has an interesting op. The Giants just uh, aren't really strong in the tight end position. Runs he's a veteran, but to me, he's not somebody I'm overly excited. We've been disappointing in the past with Evan Ingram. That position disappointing sort of say for the past few years. I don't know much, but I do think going into OTAs and going into mini camps, I think he has a chance, shape out of maybe if not a starting spot, some playing time. At I know he wasn't that high in recruit, played for San Diego State. Too much film on him, but I'm interested to see what comes about that. And Dane Belton, like I said, I like our safeties. I think they're young. I think they have a lot of potential. I actually know the high school he went to in Tampa. It's a huge high school. But I do like him. I go over a lot. Um, that's all I really. That's mostly if I'm being completely honest with you. Ball hawk, but I haven't really seen much about him. Position, like I said, we're young there. I don't hate the pick at all.
Now, as a Giants fan, maybe you can
Yeah.
shed some light that I don't know. But me personally, I'm not a huge fan of Julian Love. I love Xavier McKinney.
Yeah.
But Julian Love, I'm not a huge fan of.
Why not?
What is it about Julian Love that you like? What do you see from his game that lets you say, he's a solid safety for us, and I can see him continuing to grow
Why
and
don't you
mature and be a
like him?
valuable member. What I don't like is I don't want to go through a whole laundry list because I don't want to kill him. Just from what I've seen, sometimes I don't like how he diagnoses plays. I think sometimes he's a little bit slow on the draw with diagnosing plays and figuring out what's going on. I do think he's a little small. So 5'11", 195 for, my strong safety. Traditionally, I like my strong safeties to be able to come up in the box and hit. If I need you to drop down and convert into somewhat of a semi linebacker on third down, or if I need you to get into the hole, I don't know if I see the willingness from him sometimes to get in there and make those big hits and to like really lay somebody out or to make a big stop. So I think for me, instincts, diagnosing plays, and I'm not trying to kill him on his size, but for the position that he plays, I'm a little leery about that. But what do you see that's different from my analysis?
I think he can be better tackling. I don't think he's good in improve on run defense. I think the secondary with Pepper's injury, things of that nature, like that whole group was out of position. For me, I'm kind of a little more lenient with them. At the secondary, I'm always like, well, they're young and developing. Well, it's because they were things that they're not normally thrown in. I think he's okay in coverage. I think he's fine in coverage. To me, I'm not saying he's great, but when I play, I'm a little more forgiving with the secondary. To me, I think he's fine in coverage. I think if he just stays in that safety spot and he continues to stay there and doesn't move around and has too much time, I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's fine. I can see what you're saying though. Like,
and
his
I think
tackling,
with his
like
size,
coverage is just
For me, with his size, and I think
Yeah.
at Notre Dame he did play a little bit of corner. I think in high school he played a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's in a corner body, but he doesn't have corner speed. So because he doesn't have corner speed, he has to
Okay.
find a home, and he found a home at safety, which is
Right.
fine. But I think there are some points in the game as far as he's great in coverage when he understands what his assignment is. But I think sometimes diagnosing the play and understanding the assignment, if it's not a direct assignment or if it's not called out pre-snap, if he has to diagnose himself, sometimes maybe he doesn't trust himself yet because he's only 24 years old. So maybe he doesn't trust himself enough yet to where he can fire off and just be like, I'm gonna make my decision. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna trust what I'm trusting what my eyes are seeing, and I'm gonna just go. Right. Sometimes I see he's a little bit hesitant, and when he's hesitant, that allows it to open up for bigger plays down the field.
He's
So
a little slow.
if he can kind of
he's a little slower. Like
right,
he
and because
he'll make the right read, but he'll be like a step like that.
right. So and I
Yeah.
think and see that's it. He'll make the right read, but he's a step
Right.
slow. But when he doesn't make the right read, or when he takes too long to make the right read because he doesn't have that recovery speed or that makeup
Right.
speed, then he's really out of position. So I think for me, for him, is getting that mental part of the game down, because once you have that mental part and that slows down and you can make your reads quicker as a safety, because you have so much room, you have so much landscape to get to where you need to go. If you can make up your mind and decide where you're going a little bit faster, then I think that'll compensate for the lack of speed. So again, um, I
Yeah.
can agree with you. They're young, they're developing. Again, he's only 24. He was behind McKinney and Pepper, so he didn't get a lot of playing time. So maybe it's just more reps, more reps, more reps, and he'll kind of get that. But um, I mean, if one of these young guys like a Dane Belton can come in, and because of that ball hawk nature that he has,
Right.
now that could kill him. You know,
Yeah.
we talk about in basketball, you can shoot yourself into a game and shoot yourself right out. So sometimes that instinct and him wanting to jump and make a big play can get him out of position too. But you know, if one of these young guys behind him push him, I mean, it's always good competition, man. So,
Yeah.
I like the Dane Belton pick in round 4, 3 picks in round 5, 1 in round 6, and we'll get you out of here. So we got 3 picks in round 5. We got linebacker Micah McFadden from Indiana at 146. Very next pick, we take defensive tackle DJ Davidson out of Arizona State. And then in 147, take another guard, a teammate of Joshua Ezeudu from North Carolina, Marcus McKeithen. So these are the 3 picks in round 5. Let me know your thoughts.
I don't mind taking a linebacker with Micah McFadden. The linebacker position is one that's kind of been. I mean, Antonio Pierce, and Jet. I can't really think of anyone who I've been like really thrilled to have. Like Martinez is pretty cool. He'll, but yeah, I like it here in round 5. DJ Davidson, defensive tackle. Don't know much about him, but I see defensive tackle, and like I said, line is something that I'm always down for. If I'm going to be like at this point with my college football, don't know much for addressing the line. So for this round, those 2 late picks, to me, it's just like, all right, we need depth at these positions. Let's just grab it.
Yeah, so Micah McFadden, I think, and I'm hoping I'm not wrong in this, but I think he is going to be a pleasant surprise. And honestly, he's probably going to remind you a lot of Blake Martinez. Like, if you took their
Yeah,
names off the back of their jerseys and you just put them side by side and let them play, you might
same
get
player,
confused between the two.
twins.
They're pretty much the same player. So Micah
Okay.
McFadden, while he did test really well, there's some I think like his like they say white man can't jump. That's BS, because he had like a 38-inch vertical or 39.5-inch vertical, something crazy. He
Yeah,
tested really well. But while he tested well, he has the athleticism. He isn't going to make that many wow plays on the field. Like,
that's
oh my goodness, I can't believe
fine
he
though.
did that.
Yeah,
But he's going
right.
to be that Blake Martinez, sideline to sideline. I'm here to make tackles.
Right.
As many tackles as I can get. Whoever has the ball, find that guy, get him to the ground. That's my job. So I think he can carve out a nice role for himself as a rotational linebacker, at linebacker 3 or linebacker 4,
Yeah.
in this scheme, because there are some linebackers here, but outside of Tay Crowder and Blake Martinez, and Tay Crowder, honestly, he's okay,
No,
but I mean, Tay
the
Crowder can be pushed
defense
out.
linebacker
I
core
mean,
is not. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, Micah McFadden has a
Yeah.
prime opportunity to really make some noise on this defense. DJ
Yeah.
Davidson, big guy, 6'5", 325. I think you can see him playing a little bit of that nose tackle in this defense. But you can see him playing outside and maybe spelling, Leonard Williams, um, rushing from that, or Jahai Ward rushing from that left or right defensive end in that 3-4. He does have a little bit of versatility. Again, he's going to be somebody that needs to be coached up, trained up. Marcus McKeithen, I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought that he might be one of the undrafted guys, just because a lot of people were worried about um, his size. He's 6'7", 335. So while the six
Yeah.
seven frame kind of balances out that 335 a little bit, a lot of people were worrying, well, is he lazy? Is he a little bit sloppy? Is he not, in good enough football shape? Um, from my experience, sometimes I don't think NFL programs really care about that. They want to know, how do you play on the field? Once we get you in our building, once we get you with our nutritionist, once we put you on a meal plan, a workout plan, a strength and conditioning plan, we'll get you to the weight that we want you to get. And even if it's 335, but we lean you out a little bit, and we make sure that your mobility and flexibility is there. So again, more reinforcement on that offensive line for a team that desperately needed it. I'm not upset with the pick at all. Again, last pick in the 5th round, you get another guard, you pair him with his teammate. So you got 2 guys who can come in, lean on each other right away
Right.
as rookies, learning the NFL, learning a new offensive
Right.
scheme. So Joshua's not doing it by himself. Marcus isn't doing it by himself. They're doing it together, with Evan Neal, 3 rookies learning it with the veterans who are there. So I think that it was a benefit to taking that pick. And then the last pick, round 6, number 182, Darren Beavers from Cincinnati, another linebacker. I was actually really excited about this pick too.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
he's
for me,
good.
good.
I'm saying, I mean, he's a finalist of the Buckets Award, which is the best linebacker in the country. When I'm looking at his stats, I saw a little bit of tape of him. Interceptions, pass breakups, everything you want in a linebacker. When I'm looking at, what he was able, and then given that he was award finalist, kind of shocked that he fell this far down. I'm sure there's some reason for not really familiar with, like I said, with that linebacking core that we have. He steps in and, makes a team and even, get some playing time and impact. So at the value 6th, 3rd pick, I'll take her.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just looking at, his accolades in college, I mean, yeah, it's really surprising that he fell to the 6th round. I think there was some off the field stuff.
Okay.
Um, maybe some character stuff. I can't remember. I don't think there was any recent injury history, but that also could have played a part in it. But 6'4", 255, he has the body type of a more traditional old school linebacker, but he has the
Yeah.
movement skills and the fluidity of a new school linebacker. So he can kind of do it all. He's great in run support. He can rush the passer if you need him to. And like you said, he can drop into coverage too. So I think if he can come in with the right mindset, especially if off the field issues were the problem and that allowed him to drop. If he can come in with the right mindset and just say, look, I want to be a sponge. I want to learn as much as I can, as often as I can, and just be a contributing member of this football team. Even if that means in your rookie year as a 6th round pick, a lot of your work is done on special teams. You better light people up on special teams.
Yeah.
Put your helmet in somebody's chest and let this team see that you can be a valuable member, and then carve out your role on the defense. You just talked about it. The linebacker core is not something that to really be desired right now. So outside of Blake Martinez, and then if you take away Kevon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, who are the outside linebacker pass rushers, outside of Blake Martinez, that left side inside linebacker position is wide open.
Right.
And then with his versatility, if Kayvon or Azeez Ojulari need a spell at 6'4", 255, you can drop him to outside linebacker and have him rush off the edge too. So I'm excited about that pick, man.
What everything you just said, just repeat to me, the linebacker position is just wide open. It's probably the weakest part of the defense. Outside of Blake Martinez, a lot to be desired. You know more about him than I do. What you just get to me, so I'm for it.
So man, that's 11 picks. I mean, if I had to say how many picks I liked out of this, I'd say 10 out of the 11. The
Which one didn't
DJ
you like?
Davidson pick.
Okay.
DJ Davidson, again, I feel like I know it's a depth piece, additional reinforcements on the line. not really remembering who was available at that point. Maybe there was other positions of need that they could have attacked. Maybe if you want to attack the running back position, because outside of Saquon, Matt Breida, who I know from his history in San Francisco, and then being in Miami and Buffalo, he's dealt with a lot of injuries. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of injury history there. Gary Brightwell and Antonio Williams behind those two. Look, again, a lot to be desired there. So maybe some reinforcements in the running back room. Defense is pretty solid. Maybe another corner. I like Darnay Holmes. I think he's a great slot corner. But then, everybody else, maybe some more depth there. But all in all, again, I feel like the Giants did an absolutely fabulous job. Um, I like 10 out of 11 picks. I have to give
That's
the
an A,
Giants an
bro.
A. I have to
That's
give
an
them an
A.
A. 10 out of 11, I have to give
Yeah.
them I can't give them anything less than an A. Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal. You get two bona fide studs, Wandale Robinson, Joshua
Yeah.
Ezeudu, Cordell Flott. They did their thing,
You
man.
you get at least 4 or 5 starters, maybe if Dane Belt slides in there in the safety like later on in the season. You have starters right away from this draft, and I think all who can make an impact. So that, especially when you get the starters on the line, the offensive line, I think it's a great draft.
Absolutely. And then even taking a look at the UDFAs really quick, there's a name, Yusef Corker, defensive back out of
Okay.
Kentucky. There's a lot of guys here. Darren Evans, DB from LSU, defensive tackle Christopher Hinton from Michigan. Some names that I saw pop up a few times in my mock draft series as I was going through mock drafts for all 32 teams. So even in that UDFA pool, there are a few names to look out for and to watch, and to see what they're able to contribute. Maybe they don't make the 53, but these are guys that you can stash on your practice squad, continue to develop, and they can be a part of the system long term. So
Yep.
the Giants have new lease on life, man. New front office, new head coach, and they started off with a bang with a really solid draft, man. I was excited to see it. Happy for you as a Giants fan, to kind of see them, turn that corner, and get things on the right track. Before we let you go, we have OTAs, the voluntary portion of OTAs. I think most teams are wrapping it up soon, and then they'll go away for a little bit, and then they'll come back for training camp. So based off of this draft, based off of what you've seen so far from mini camp and OTAs, what are some things that you're looking forward to seeing in this upcoming training camp?
For me, there's a new coaching, so I'm paying attention to culture, things of that nature. I know it sounds very simple, but coming off like the Joe Judge the years and the David Gettleman thing, like I just want to see like a culture, togetherness. I want to hear nothing but good to the offensive line, that they're gelling, that Dable has some type of like what that line is going to look like. To me, that's very important, especially for Daniel Jones. I want to hear that Thibodeau is like not only rushing, but he's dropping back and cut. Like I want to hear about our high draft picks, that there's continuity, that there's cohesion, especially, and from the offense, because at the end of the day, Daniel Jones has to perform. And we can talk all we want about the draft. Quarterback has to play up to par. He has to play the first round pick that we. So, to me, again, I know it sounds simple, but new regime. I need a five from this team going forward. Really, because I'm not gonna lie, the past few years as a Giants fan, we were watching them not because of the performances on the field, but just everything going on behind the scenes. I just didn't like the vibe of the team in general, being completely honest, and I'm just happy those days are gone.
Last question before we let you go, man. What does a successful season look like for Daniel Jones for him to remain the quarterback of the New York Giants?
I think it's unfair to him because the offense was so bad last year, but a lot of it has to do with the fact they're running quarterback. A successful season for Daniel Jones is leading an offense that is in the top half of the league, staying healthy all year, cutting, especially fumbling the football. You don't have to deep playoff run, but hey, let's at least make the playoffs. The Cowboys are the favorites. I think the Eagles can be very dangerous, but that doesn't Giants can't finish 500 or around 9-8, 10-7, and can for a playoff spot. So to me, stay healthy all year, lead an offense because that is tops to me. There's no excuses with the weapons that they have. They have talent. Yeah, just show some progress. Get rid of the ball quicker. Also damn long. Things of that nature. Just some type of progression so that okay, I can exist in this new coach with the new system, and I can use these to justify signing him because he hasn't proved anything yet, and I don't think a lot of it is on him. I think a lot of it is on the coaching staff and the line that they put in front time. He hasn't really done much to.
Absolutely, man. I completely agree with that. That's going to wrap it up for this review of the Giants draft. Again, give my guy Josh a follow. Right there, you see it, Josh_Rodriguez_ for all of your basketball needs. If you need a podcast, if you need somebody to listen to kind of get some good insight about what's going on with the NBA, again, we still got at least 4 games. I don't think either one of these teams are going to sweep, but at least 4 more games with the NBA Finals. And then we'll move on to the offseason. Josh is doing content all year round. So give my guy a follow and check him out for NBA stuff. Thank you so much for tuning into Mose Knows. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with me on all of my social media accounts, I will link that in the description below. I'll also have Josh's linked as well. Again, we appreciate your time and tapping in with us for a little bit. Do me a few favors before you head out. One, hit that thumbs up, man. It helps me out. It helps me curate my content. So I'm giving you guys the best possible product I can. Hit that subscribe button. Become a part of the Mose Knows fam. Once your family, I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Ask Josh. He'll tell you.
Yep.
And then 2, hit that bell icon so that you get notified every time new content drops right here at Mose Knows. Love and appreciate you guys. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.